The pungent smell of perfume hit my nose, and my heart pounded relentlessly. I instinctively raised a hand to cover my eyes. My mother-in-law was dressed gaudily, her pale face painted with red lipstick, diligently applying eyeshadow. Scattered on the floor were all my designer clothes and bags. I couldn't believe it. I had opened my eyes and returned to the moment my mother-in-law was preparing for her date. Seeing me standing there, speechless, my husband, Liu Zhang, wrinkled his nose and finally spoke. "Mom, you're 63 years old. Just a few days ago, the police came to warn us about online dating scams. Be careful." He then conveniently turned off the "Overbearing CEO Loves Me" song that my mother-in-law often listened to. Recently, many public accounts had been posting "Soul Chicken Soup" articles aimed at the elderly, all focusing on stirring up romantic feelings. Obsessed with romance novels, my mother-in-law was determined to find true love online. Every day, she wouldn't wash her face or brush her teeth, waking up only to squeal into video calls with strangers. The woman who was usually so sharp-tongued and sour at home transformed into a sweet, gentle girl online. Thanks to her sugary voice, she became a hit in online chat rooms, frequently chatting with a so-called upper-class prince until late at night. Back then, I overheard that my mother-in-law was about to meet him, so I urgently informed my husband. Liu Zhang was a famously filial son, unwilling to say a harsh word to his mother, which naturally made me the villain. I told her that online relationships carried risks, with many scams targeting the elderly. Imagining the prospect of losing everything and ending up on the streets, she couldn't bear the torment and fearfully gave up. Later, her online best friend suddenly became rich. Not only did she move into a luxurious villa, but she also had 80 servants attending to her. That so-called upper-class prince was incredibly thoughtful. The two flaunted their love all over their social circles, making my mother-in-law's eyes burn red with rage. She grabbed a knife and stormed into the kitchen. "If you hadn't stopped me then, I would be the one rich and happy now," she screamed. Unbeknownst to me, she had put sleeping pills in my water. My vision blurred, my body went completely limp, and I collapsed to the ground. A sensation of agonizing pain, like being carved alive, washed over me. Superfluous sounds echoed in my ears as my mother-in-law frantically stabbed me dozens of times, chopping me into 13 pieces. And my famously filial husband, to protect his mother, buried me in the backyard as fertilizer for the flowers, then spread rumors everywhere that I had run off with another man. My mother-in-law's phone vibrated on the table. "My sweet baby, I'll be there in 10 minutes. Zach loves you." I quickly glared at my husband, then said kindly, "Don't think everyone is so bad. Even if Mom is older, she has the right to pursue her love." I picked up the cosmetics on the table and started doing her makeup. "We're running out of time, Mom. Move aside a little." I even specially brought out my high-end designer items that I hadn't dared to wear, letting my mother-in-law choose freely. Seeing her nodding eagerly, my husband beside me immediately fell silent, quietly playing on his phone. Clothes make the man, a saddle makes the horse. After applying makeup, my mother-in-law looked 30 years younger than her 60 years. She couldn't stop smiling at her reflection, revealing a set of yellow teeth. "Zach will surely fall in love at first sight," she chirped. "I didn't realize you had such talent, daughter-in-law." My eyes fell on the Fendi bag and the Closeted bag I had bought for 60,000 VND, requiring me to save up for over half a year. I gritted my teeth and handed it to her. "Mom, just carry this bag. Don't let people think we're not worthy of him." Holding the bag, she looked incredulous. "Daughter-in-law, isn't this your most prized possession?" This was the first time she had ever called me that. For years, she had either called me useless or a barren hen, giving me all sorts of chores like a maid. Now she was suddenly so affectionate. I suppressed a wave of nausea, put on a thick smile, and said, "Before you leave, I must warn you, Mom, don't let him think we're poor. I'll teach you all the tricks to project the image of a rich lady. That way, the upper-class prince will feel you're a suitable match. We're all adults who doesn't respect someone with money, especially when there's a 40-year age gap. Mom, if you don't have some savings, won't you just be seen as a housewife?" My mother-in-law's eyes lit up, and she excitedly got into the convertible sports car. Watching her figure disappear, my heart finally felt relieved. Go on, fall in love. One love affair and she'll be silenced. Lately, my mother-in-law treated me very well, smiling and clinging to me all day. From taking out the trash to spring cleaning, all household chores were dumped on my husband, leaving me free. Sometimes, while lying on the sofa watching TV, I could feel his resentful gaze. This put me in an exceptionally good mood, and I even gained 5 kg. The strange thing was that my bank account frequently received sums of money, starting from tens, then hundreds, gradually increasing to tens of thousands. Now, the amount was growing exponentially. Just as I was about to go to the bank to check the transactions, a gentle voice sounded. "This is the rebirth bonus the system has given you. As long as your mother-in-law's favorability towards that scammer reaches 100%, you will receive a bonus of 10 million. Is that true or false? No wonder there had been a progress bar above my mother-in-law's head recently. I thought I was hallucinating and was too scared to eat mushrooms for days. After a few minutes of thought on the toilet, I immediately ordered 10 sets of glamour skincare products, totaling 70,000, which was exactly the amount the system had accumulated for me. After entering the password, the screen showed a successful transaction. This money was real money I could spend. After half an hour of calming down in the bathroom, I walked out cheerfully. Suddenly, my mother-in-law shrieked, "Oh, Lynn, come look. Why do I have wrinkles at the corners of my eyes?" She covered her face and rushed towards me. "Zach said he likes my eyes the most, and tomorrow is our date. That's right, let's go to the beauty salon right now." That date was a great success. Zach looked exactly like his photos, with charming eyes, over 1.9 meters tall, draped in designer clothes, with a diamond-studded Bulgari. I heard he owned 6 houses in the first ring road, right at the foot of the imperial city. My mother-in-law's eyes sparkled. The favorability progress bar that day jumped from 20% to 50%. I specifically advised her to get facials and beauty treatments, recommending several beauty salons with poor skills but high prices. Beauty salons only had an effect while you were in the salon. But my mother-in-law, who had been stingy her entire life, how could she know these things? She was extremely satisfied, directly swiping my husband's card clean. That day, my husband wore an apron, his face as dark as a pot, clattering dishes loudly while washing them. After that, I continuously emphasized the importance of makeup and dressing up. The prerequisite for being loved was to be beautiful. A formal love affair must begin with a bouquet of flowers. The meanings of jasmine, roses lovers must know these. As long as it was emotional, chicken soup, I forwarded it to my mother-in-law. Afterward, large bouquets of flowers occasionally arrived. The living room was almost filled with roses. My husband, allergic to pollen, suffered terribly, covered in red rashes. But he was a famously filial son. How could he dare to say a word against his mother? He gritted his teeth and took medicine for a week. Until that bouquet of 9,999 jasmine flowers was brought into the house, he collapsed in the living room. If he hadn't been rushed to the ICU in time, he would have nearly died. I was heartbroken, busy at the hospital, while my mother-in-law didn't visit once. Instead, she posted photos of her yacht date on her social circle, with the caption, "To my love, jasmine flowers, may you never leave me." Their relationship had reached a frozen stage. During their sweet phase, my mother-in-law became softer, her triangular eyes turning gentle. Under the nourishment of money and love, she spent her days shopping and spending money at home. The woman who would once walk 3 hours to save 20 yuan now wouldn't go out without a private car. The house was piled high with clothes. I sat on the sofa eating watermelon, calmly saying, "Mom, that blogger said that love is not just emotional resonance but also economic fairness. Occasionally, when you and Zach go out, you should offer to pay once. Tomorrow is the loan repayment deadline. My husband still hasn't gathered enough money for the car installment." His eyebrows furrowed tightly. He had asked me to borrow money these past few days, but I innocently replied, "What can a housewife do? How could I have any money?" Seeing his face, as if he had swallowed a fly, I secretly laughed to myself. "I have money in my pocket, but don't even dream of taking a single penny from me. Didn't you look down on me for being a housewife? Watch me defeat magic with magic." My mother-in-law nodded at me, immediately ordered a 6,000 yuan bottle of wine, and specifically booked a Michelin restaurant, preparing a surprise for Zach tomorrow. But she didn't know that my husband's salary card had long been empty. My husband's several years of savings had been spent in a week, including the car installment money he had to beg from his paternal and maternal grandparents to borrow. My husband's face turned grim, and he finally exploded. He violently threw down the clothes he was folding, scolding, "Let her pretend to be a rich lady. Don't think she's actually rich. Every day I do so much housework, I'm exhausted, dying, and I don't spend a single cent on myself. Now you're going too far. I'm allergic. Did you even visit me? Don't think you're the boss just because you're from the countryside. Everyone knew my father-in-law was a crude man with a fiery temper, often hitting without knowing his own strength, having crippled several people. To avoid affecting his beloved son, he only came from the countryside for our wedding day and never appeared again afterward. At that time, he insisted on taking my mother-in-law back to the countryside with him, causing a very ugly scene. Thinking of the plight of women from the older generation in the countryside, I softened and kept her. But that was the beginning of my suffering. As a daughter-in-law, whatever I did was wrong. No matter how she looked at it, I wasn't worthy of her son. And my husband simply washed his hands of everything, only giving me 500 yuan a month for living expenses, coming home only to lie on the sofa, waiting to be served food and drink. Whether it was a big or small matter, he unconditionally favored his mother, a famously filial son far and wide. In my previous life, I had wasted half my life on them, yearning for recognition, yearning for family warmth, always taking meticulous care of her, but she was never grateful. They never considered me family, just a free nanny. My mother-in-law pouted, her voice squealing softly. What are you rushing for? When Zach marries me, everything will be left to you. Liu Zhang, in a furious rage, couldn't hear a word. He directly bundled his mother and her clothes and threw her out like trash. A crisp sound of breaking bones echoed, and neighbors gathered around. This famously filial son had finally torn off his mask, but my mother-in-law, sprawled on the ground, didn't forget to strike a pose, left hand on her face, right hand rubbing her waist. I nearly cried with anxiety, my eyes immediately reddening, and I rushed to help her up. Damn it, the favorability dropped to 45%. But the next morning, my mother-in-law returned. The bracelet on her arm was 50 cm thick, so heavy she couldn't lift her hand, and behind her, a crowd of her sisters filled the living room. Auntie Lee spoke first, her face full of admiration. That young man really is as handsome as Daniel Wu, even more handsome than movie stars on TV. Auntie Chen next to her blinked. Oh my, the important thing is he has money. That luxury car, even if I sold my daughter 3 times over, I couldn't afford it. Auntie May turned and glared fiercely at my husband. Liu Zhang, do you know how much you've hurt your mother? She does all this for you and you don't understand anything. Then she fawningly grabbed my mother-in-law's hand. This is a high-grade jadeite worth 60 million. He didn't blink when he paid, saying it was a token of engagement. Young people nowadays are so romantic. Sister, you'll have a good life now. I grinned, reaching out to touch the bracelet. Something doesn't feel right. It feels like a piece of glass, like the green window glass from my childhood. The system's lazy voice sounded. Mother-in-law's favorability reached 70%. Inspection function successfully unlocked. Cheap glass, value 20 yuan. My mother-in-law's face was covered in layers of wrinkles from smiling. It's nothing big, just an engagement gift. The most important thing is the ceremony. Auntie Chen immediately chimed in. Didn't he take sister to see houses a few days ago? 10 houses for sister to choose from. Auntie May, who never bothered to look at me, also fawningly said, Lin, you'll be blessed later, don't forget us. In a few days, Auntie will bring her surrogate daughter-in-law over for you. A few days ago, Auntie May's daughter-in-law gave birth to her 8th child, finally the grandson they had been hoping for 9 years. Married for many years, Liu Zhang and I still had no children. My mother-in-law found many folk remedies to nourish me. Boy's urine mixed with black duck blood, spiced with guanyin water, she even forced me to eat the placenta of Auntie May's daughter-in-law. Until the emergency room doctor even forgot my face, my belly remained still. Every time I came home, my mother-in-law's face would tight. What good is bringing home a barren hen? You're not worthy of eating good things, you only waste money at the hospital. If you hadn't brought money as a dowry and added more, my Liu Zhang wouldn't even have bothered with you. The guests left and the house immediately fell silent. My mother-in-law lowered her head, playing on her phone, occasionally covering her mouth to stifle a giggle. In the awkward atmosphere, Liu Zhang spoke first. Mom, could this be real? He's so rich, yet he's still short 300,000 for this house. He insists on us paying. It turned out that today, the upper-class prince had officially set the engagement date with my mother-in-law, but he had one condition. My mother-in-law had to pay 300,000 yuan for the villa. The reason was very straightforward. I'm not asking you to pay the whole amount, but a little bit is reasonable, right? My mother-in-law, who was busy building her rich lady image, didn't think twice and immediately agreed. She even boasted, "Don't say 300,000, even 3 million is fine." I silently took out my mother-in-law's passbook and interjected, "So many people are watching, is Auntie Lee going to scam someone? Feelings must be reciprocated. What is this small amount of money compared to the future? If you don't spend a single penny, how will you be able to hold your head high in your husband's family later?" My mother-in-law smiled happily and said, "That's right, still my good daughter-in-law. A daughter-in-law is indeed a thick padded jacket." I secretly chuckled. The pension money in here is probably not going to last. If my mother-in-law had originally been suspicious, under the relentless assault of luxury cars, grand houses, and yachts, she had completely fallen. She roared at Liu Zhang, "How can it be fake? Go borrow another 500,000 yuan. Zach has been having some business problems recently and needs to circulate some capital. If you can't get the money, I'll die for you to see tomorrow." Ever since my mother-in-law handed over her passbook, Zach's attitude towards her had cooled. The number of times he asked for money also started to increase. If the money didn't arrive in his account, he would play hide-and-seek and log onto chat rooms to connect with other women, leaving only a message, "I don't like your rustic look, you're of no help to me." My mother-in-law not only began to look down on the neighbors dancing in the square, calling it low culture, but she also stopped playing mahjong. She wholeheartedly studied piano and spent a fortune enrolling in several etiquette classes, all to save face when marrying into a wealthy family. And these tactics were very successful. Zach started being sweet to her again. The wedding date was pushed forward. They could register their marriage at the Civil Affairs Bureau at any time. Looking at the private photos Zach sent, I was overjoyed. The upper-class Prince Zach also ate at upscale restaurants 3 times a day. The Cartier ball blur watch on his hand was a super replica, costing 100 yuan. The Van Cleef and Arpels necklace around his neck was fake, costing 50 yuan. The Louis Vuitton shoes on his feet had a wrong logo, costing 60 yuan. The system analyzed it for a while. No wonder he targeted my mother-in-law. She was indeed a regular customer for those selling health supplements. Anyone with a slightly clear mind wouldn't believe it. The money in my account was still growing. Every day I ate a piece of fruit, I gained another 10,000 yuan. I was reluctant to share this money with Liu Zhang and his mother. I specially boasted in the family group chat about what an amazing mother-in-law I had found, and I even posted a picture of my mother-in-law in a luxury car on my social circle. Having a good husband is truly blissful. I can spend my mother-in-law's money freely. That evening, the entire atmosphere at dinner was strange. That night, when I needed to use the restroom, I saw Liu Zhang, his face gloomy, walk straight into my mother-in-law's bedroom. I pressed my ear to the door, only hearing a few arguments before my mother-in-law suddenly happily said, "Of course. Do you really think I'm good to Lin Wang? Hurry and finalize the divorce in the next few days. Don't let her divide our assets. You also take this opportunity to leave her, find someone prettier, and have a chubby grandson." Returning to my room, my laptop screen was on, displaying a complete divorce agreement. The printed paper on the table already had Liu Zhang's signature. I pretended nothing had happened, tiptoed back to bed, and let out a sigh of relief. Thank goodness, I almost had to bear the debt with them. Liu Zhang's eyes flashed with surprise, seemingly not expecting me to agree so quickly. My mother-in-law saw this and hurriedly said, "You haven't contributed anything to this family. Even if you sign quickly, you won't get a single penny." Liu Zhang and I were high school sweethearts who made it to the altar. When I first graduated, thanks to my good academic record and extensive internship experience, I received an offer from a large company during the autumn recruitment season. At that time, the work environment wasn't as competitive as it is now. And right when the internet was booming, my salary was 7 or 8 times higher than Liu Zhang's. My parents passed away early, and with the support of the orphanage, I gradually made my way out of the countryside. In the library, I fell in love with Liu Zhang, a man as gentle as jade. It was love at first sight. A 6 yuan rice noodle roll made me happy all afternoon. That was the first time he ever gave me anything. He picked me up and dropped me off at school, bought me breakfast, and stayed by my side when I was sick. Soon, we became the model couple in class, but I had never been truly loved. How could I learn how to love someone else? I thought love meant giving everything just to please him. I worked hard to support him through his master's degree. He proposed to me with his acceptance letter. The ceremony was very simple, and the gold wedding set was also fake. The house we were living in was also rented by me at that time. I shouldn't have married him. I knew all these things, but I was really too starved for love. As long as I grasped a little bit of goodness, I wouldn't let go. Thinking back now, it was so foolish. Does this timid man deserve me to raise him to the heavens? Seeing my lack of reaction, Liu Zheng hurriedly continued. Besides, I don't have any money in my account now. We don't have any joint assets. At most, we'll split 1,000 yuan, consider it consolation money for the child. HMPH, over a decade of feelings, finally only worth 1,000 yuan. In fact, I had once been pregnant with a child. The moment that tiny life squirmed in my womb, waves of warmth filled my heart. It was a new life. I often whispered in the night, "Mommy will give you all the best things, an unparalleled companionship. The maternal love I lacked, all of it will be for you." When my mother-in-law heard I was pregnant, she rushed up from the countryside, adamantly refusing to let me get prenatal checkups, causing my baby to suffocate. At that time, the doctor suggested Down syndrome screening, but my mother-in-law thought the hospital was just trying to swindle money. She found several shamans to stabilize the fetus for me. I was locked in the room, trying to resist, but it was useless. My mother-in-law said loudly, "Could I harm my own child, who wasn't like this in the past? Don't get prenatal checkups for half a month because the doctor will gossip about the child, and a sensitive baby won't stay with you two anymore." Liu Zheng also changed his expression. "Staying at home for prenatal care is definitely better than the hospital. It's 20 yuan a night. If we're married, we should save whatever we can. It's the same to get a checkup at 7 months. Later, I learned that he was secretly having an affair at that time. It wasn't until the baby was almost 7 months old that I had my first checkup, because that day my stomach cramped intensely and my heart ached. I opened my eyes to see fresh blood flowing down my thighs. I desperately cried for help in the room. "Save me, save my baby." I used all my strength to crawl to the door and completely fainted. When I woke up, the examination was done and the baby had died in my womb. After that, my health deteriorated rapidly. I aged significantly. My mother-in-law was eager for a grandchild, forcing me to quit my job and stay home to prepare for pregnancy, constantly finding folk remedies for me to conceive, but my belly remained still. After several years of torment, my mother-in-law finally gave up. When I wanted to return to my old job, I no longer had the strength. I glared fiercely at Liu Zheng, throwing the pile of loose change on the table at his face. Green and red 50-cent and 1 yuan bills flew everywhere. This was my past lover. This was the family affection I had longed for. This filthy past ends today. Besides the school uniform I was wearing, I took nothing. As soon as I stepped out of that cheap rental house, the system joyfully chirped. Favorability reached 95%, task almost complete, 97%. 100%, task complete. Congratulations, Lin Wang. 5 million has been transferred to your account. Please check. Before I could even react, the bank transfer notification popped up. Why did it increase so fast? Well, whatever, the faster it increases, the faster they die. I immediately rushed to the city's most expensive condominium complex. I needed a place that was entirely my own. I looked at all the top penthouse apartments but wasn't very satisfied. The reason was simple: the price wasn't expensive enough. The sales associates looked at me with some surprise. "Excuse me, ma'am, this building requires asset verification. Are you sure you can afford it?" With my age nearing the grave, yet wearing a school uniform among a luxurious crowd, I looked incredibly peculiar. Just as I was about to take out my card, my mother-in-law's sneering voice rang out from behind. Afford this place. Just looking at it makes this place dirty." My mother-in-law was intimately linked arm-in-arm with a handsome young man, her eyes full of triumph. An old cow grazing on young grass. The commotion here wasn't small, attracting quite a few onlookers. Liu Zheng rushed over. "Rich now, aren't you? Don't talk about asset verification. It's hard to say if she even has 200 yuan on her." His words grew increasingly vile. The eyes of passers-by seemed to pierce through my body, their whispers stabbing straight into my heart. The upper-class prince, Zach, stood by without a word, then began to utter vulgarities in front of me. "Dressing like this, aren't you trying to pretend to be an innocent student to sell yourself?" Everyone looked at me with even stranger eyes. I took out a card from my pocket. The compound interest the system had given me had long surpassed 10 million. Buying a large apartment was not a problem at all. My mother-in-law's face was full of expectation, her voice nauseatingly shrill. Zach, I want an apartment like this too, then Liu Zhang and I will move in together to serve you. After saying that, she giggled shyly. A 63-year-old woman acting coy gave everyone goosebumps. The foundation on her face was blotchy, making her wrinkles even more terrifying. Because she was exposed to the sun and rain all year round, her hands were cracked, her arms were yellow to the point of being dark, covered in dark spots. Looking at those yellow teeth, I felt disgusted for that so-called upper-class prince. How could he even kiss that? Then a clear voice rang out, "Honey, transfer the remaining 100,000 to me quickly. We can talk about buying a house after my business is settled." Immediately, my mother-in-law's face darkened. The clatter of high heels approached from afar. The sales associate quickly ran towards me. "Ms. Wang, please have a seat, please have a seat. All the apartments you just viewed, we will hold them for you." The staff next to her immediately understood, bringing water and snacks one after another. The sofa in the VIP area was incredibly comfortable. I narrowed my eyes, facing my mother-in-law's angry face. "Zach, you go verify your assets too, I want to sit on the sofa." Seeing that the other party didn't react, she immediately acted, her voice hardening. "I've already transferred the 100,000 to you. Now buy the house, the very one she just looked at." The young man, named Handsome Wang, was still naive. His eyes flashed with joy, then panic. He wasn't an upper-class prince. He was just an online scammer. I saw him violently shake off my mother-in-law's hand and disappear without a trace. I waved my hand, swiping my card to buy the house on the spot, including furniture. All kinds of ribbons flew in the air like a summer rainbow. Liu Zhang sat on a plastic chair, staring blankly at me, his face full of disbelief. The so-called upper-class prince, Zach, had completely vanished. It turned out that my mother-in-law's favorability had skyrocketed because she had completely trusted Zach. Without me, the burden on her heart made her fearless. She directly transferred all the money she had to Zach for his business, dreaming of marrying into a wealthy family. It was said that the amount was up to 500,000 yuan, mostly borrowed by Liu Zhang at high interest, with a small portion borrowed from relatives and friends. At that time, my mother-in-law still had some reservations, keeping 100,000 yuan in hand, intending to transfer it to Zach after buying the house. But she didn't expect to run into me. Both prideful and angry, she disregarded everything and directly transferred the remaining amount. Now, the mother and son searched the world for him, but still had no news. They wanted to report it to the police, but all of Zach's information was fake. Name, age, birthplace, even his chat room account was fake. In the vast sea of people, relying solely on a face with no information, he was fundamentally untraceable. I lay on my 1.8-meter bed, looking out at the sea view from the window, chewing cherries. The system hadn't appeared for a long time. It could be said that since my mother-in-law's favorability reached the standard, there was no longer any reaction. I tried to wake it up, but still no response, only money continuously being transferred. Just as I was about to scroll through short videos, I accidentally caught my mother-in-law live streaming, crying bitterly, continuously recounting how she had been scammed in an online romance, hoping the online community could help her. Many netizens expressed sympathy. So pitiful, over 60 years old and still scammed. These scammers are really cruel now. It's not easy for the elderly to save money. Everyone help look for him. Recently, I still received scraps of information about Liu Zhang. I heard that he was being chased by creditors and didn't dare to leave the house for days. Those people couldn't find him, so they went directly to his company to cause trouble. The next day, the company immediately announced his dismissal. No one in the industry dared to hire him. I don't know why, but my mother-in-law started telling old stories, all centered around me. In just a few minutes, the comment section changed. "The old woman doesn't know, but don't the young ones know either? Young grass like that for an old cow to graze, they don't even look at the distance, use your brain. How can there be free lunch in this world?" The son also thought of marrying into a rich family with his mother. That's too greedy. Thinking she could marry into a rich family and make her son divorce his wife of over a decade. Is this kind of person even pitiable? Curses filled the comment section. Comments kept popping up. Scoff. What do you people understand? Am I not allowed to pursue freedom and love just because I'm old? My mother-in-law's face gradually darkened. After a lecture, she abruptly turned off the live stream. But I sharply noticed a familiar ID. It belonged to my father-in-law. My mother-in-law being scammed went viral for a while, even becoming a typical case of fraud. My mother-in-law frantically searched for people, posting information on over 10 social media platforms, including detailed photos of her and Zach together. I specially printed these out, summarized the text, then sent the documents, along with over 10 intimate photos of my mother-in-law and Zach. Fearing that those in the village wouldn't see enough, I printed an additional 30 copies. Very quickly, my father-in-law and his remote village received the news. He was a proud man, and hearing that his son was heavily in debt and his wife had run off with another man, even funnier, she hadn't succeeded yet. The gossip of the village aunties was all about him. Seeing these news and images, he furiously stormed into the city. My father-in-law was a farmer all year round. His arms were as thick as an elephant's thigh. One punch could break a small tree. During the Lunar New Year back in the village, I once saw him kill a pig with a single blow, so scared that I didn't dare to sleep all night. He couldn't be contradicted. No one in the family dared to speak up, because even if you used a pleading tone, he would fly into a rage, even resorting to violence. Even my strong-willed mother-in-law could only bow her head in front of him. At the market gate, I vaguely saw two familiar figures approaching to watch. It was my father-in-law and mother-in-law. My father-in-law threw one punch after another, his eyes sharp. "Shameless woman, how dare you cheat on me? If I had known this would happen when my daughter-in-law protected you, I should have broken your legs then." The surrounding people wanted to intervene but didn't dare, gradually forming a circle. I quietly squeezed into the back, only to see my mother-in-law's mouth full of fresh blood, unable to even stand straight, her entire face white with terror, her body trembling uncontrollably. Next came 6 or 7 powerful kicks, sending her flying 7 or 8 meters, landing right in front of me. My mother-in-law looked at me pleadingly, her body curled up. "Save me, Lynn, save me one more time. I know I was wrong, I truly know I was wrong." Then she slowly crawled towards me, crying and hugging my leg, "Please, truly please." My eyes blurred, seemingly overlapping with the memories from over a decade ago. At that time, I was wearing a worn wedding dress, resolutely standing in front of my mother-in-law. That slap was hot like fire spreading, first on the left, then on the right. I took both for her. Fortunately, among the guests, some couldn't bear to watch. Coupled with my pregnancy, my hot-tempered father-in-law was finally appeased. But I was left with ear damage, a constant ringing in my ears every night. The siren of the police car grew louder, and the crowd of onlookers dispersed slightly. My father-in-law, his fists clenched like sandbags, walked towards us. I looked at her coldly, forcefully prying off her fingers one by one. The last time I helped her, I was chopped into 13 pieces. This time, I wouldn't be so foolish again. The malicious incident caused public panic, and the once bustling market became much emptier. Under public scrutiny, the authorities quickly released a statement. I heard that my mother-in-law was paralyzed on one side, destined to be bedridden for the rest of her life. Both her legs were broken, and a rib nearly pierced her heart and lungs. Fortunately, the police arrived in time to save her life. As for my father-in-law, he lost all face in the city. He didn't have much longer to live anyway and directly took poison to commit suicide. This incident didn't receive much attention, quickly overshadowed by new social events. The so-called upper-class prince, Zach, was also arrested a week later. He was never wealthy. He only wanted to change his life by relying on rich women, but he never expected to get involved with such a troublesome character. I visited my mother-in-law in the hospital, even advancing her 200,000 yuan for medical expenses, for no other reason than I didn't want her to die so peacefully. With the massive amount of money the system gave me, I lived very well, trying many new sports, making friends with many dual income, no kids people. Without children and the constraints of a mother-in-law-daughter-in-law relationship, they were all much freer. I started traveling, initially to large cities, enjoying the country's scenery. Then I gradually went into the mountains, discovering many children who needed help. I bought houses and cars, and even opened a small supermarket, leaving 2 million to live off the interest. The rest was donated to children in mountain orphanages. Many abandoned girls like me yearned for rebirth, and education was the fairest and best path. Liu Zheng's life was not good. He barely survived under the burden of debt and had to care for his dying mother in the hospital. He finally shed his mask of the filial son. Auntie May, I don't know how, managed to contact me and eagerly shared gossip every day. You don't know how miserable your mother-in-law is, her leg has maggots now. That bastard Liu Zhang doesn't even care. Oh, I visited her the other day, so pitiful, still clinging to life, can't even die. Recently, her condition worsened, rumored to be because the nurse hit her. I never replied, but I enjoyed watching, until I flipped through the donation ledger and found all 7 of her daughters' names on the list. I heard that Liu Zhang went on several blind dates, having some debt. Some naive girls might accept him, but as soon as they heard he had a dying old mother-in-law, they ran away in fear. Moreover, this mother-in-law was very famous online. At that time, I specifically sent my story to marketing accounts. With professional embellishment, I looked even more bullied and pitiable. Once it was online, everyone could recognize that face. Some time later, Auntie May sent me a video. In the video, Liu Zhang's eyes were empty. Damn it, why aren't you dead yet? How much longer do you want to cling to this world? You just had to fall in love online and now our family is ruined. People hear I have a dying old mother and they run away from me in fear. He roared, "Go die quickly. Why is your life so tough? You're lying in bed, do you know how hard I struggle picking up trash every day? Damn filial son, get out of this hospital today." With that, he slapped his mother-in-law 3 more times forcefully. She lay on the bed, unable to move, but a few tears streamed from the corners of her eyes. It seemed my mother-in-law was discharged the next day. The remaining money in her hospital card was all taken by Liu Zhang. These things gradually disappeared from my life. I enrolled in many talent classes, tried many new things, relearned computers, and spent all day wearing glasses, asking juniors about code, not for money, just for fun. I also founded an organization to care for girls, building my own website. Because of its transparent finances, it unexpectedly gained some fame. Life became fulfilling and busy, and my sense of happiness skyrocketed. Recently, I even adopted several stray cats. Auntie May also appeared occasionally to say a few words. The next time I heard about Liu Zhang was a year later. He went crazy and threw his mother-in-law in the mountains to die. The report said her body was torn into 13 pieces by wolves. In her dying moments, my mother-in-law was still conscious. When the police found Liu Zhang, he was still sleeping in a pile of trash, drinking alcohol. I looked at the news and calmly turned off the TV.